Rationale is the band you never knew you needed. The powers combining of Knucklepuck's Joe Taylor and Ryan Rumchaks, also of Home Safe, and former vocalist of Real Friends, Dan Lambton. It is truly the power of Midwest pop punk and also friendship bringing them together. Today, I'm joined by Dan, and I'm very excited to talk to you about this project and all of the great things you've been doing as well. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So I asked you this question yesterday, so I'm curious if it's a different answer. What is the first thing you listened to today?
Let me check the Spotify. I was actually so yesterday was You Blew It. Today was Mini Trees.
Okay.
And Mini Trees I found last year maybe through like my Spotify Discover Weekly. Great band or artist. I think it's a solo project. Yeah, so it's so great artist. And she just signed to Run for Cover actually last week and put out a new song. So super stoked on that. Yeah, that song's awesome.
That's awesome. I'll have to give it a listen. I'm excited.
Oh yeah, it's incredible. She's got 2 EPs out right now, and then I think maybe like another single or 2 in addition to this one. So sick.
Awesome. I think the world Spotify has kind of created is so fascinating, and I have a couple questions for you later about it.
For sure, yeah.
But the Discover Weekly and everything, like they've kind of revolutionized like how people discover music, and it's purely insane.
Oh yeah, The AI listens to everything, so we'll talk about that.
So I would kind of want to talk about your personal music origin story. Do you want to talk about how you got into music and kind of your path that has taken you to where you are now?
Yeah, so as I mentioned yesterday when we tried recording this, I had played alto sax and alto sax from 5th grade to like freshman year, and then sophomore to senior I was on bari sax, played in concert band, jazz band, marching band, and then when I was like 13 or 14, I started playing bass. My grandma got me for my birthday a Squier P bass, and then I wanted to play in bands since then, was in a few before Real Friends, and one in particular that I had met Dave, the guitar player for Real Friends, through. And then we started like hanging out, and then one thing led to another after a couple years, and then Real Friends started,
And here we are with Rationale, and
Yep.
I remember when I don't remember the exact moment, but when I first kind of heard of Rationale, I was very excited because I'm a big fan of Knucklepuck. I like Home Safe a lot, Real Friends, big fan, and it very much reminded me of, I don't know if you might remember this, but Isles and Glaciers with like Johnny Craig, and
I remember that band. Yeah, that was like a bunch of different people. Yeah,
right, and then when you guys did the acoustic album, with like the Wonder Years was dropped on that, and just like other people from Knucklepuck, and it was like a huge like culmination of people, and I was like, this is very reminiscent of that, but in a very different way.
The only reason that got to happen was because we were all on tour together, so we were recording that. Joe, and Ryan were recording that like as we were on tour. It was Wonder Years, Real Friends, Knucklepuck, Moose Blood, and Seaway. So everybody from those bands we had asked to sing or do something on it, and be involved, since we were recording it like in green rooms, in bathrooms, in trailers, in back lounges, all sorts of stuff.
I absolutely adored that, and the concept of even that happening in like a different fashion, like in any time, and what a tour, first of all.
Yeah,
I didn't get to hop on that tour. I don't think I don't remember what the scenario, but I was also afraid to go to pop punk shows by myself as a small child. I am.
Okay.
So, but that tour alone is just incredible. The fact that you guys all came together to do that acoustic stuff is just fascinating and exciting.
Yeah.
And I want to also bring up, so we again talked about this a little bit yesterday. We're almost done the questions I already kind of asked you. You were only 22 when you signed to Fearless with Real Friends. And I kind of want to discuss the impact it made on you, being so young and being in the spotlight with everybody, and then also how it impacted your mental health.
Yeah. So It was 2013 that we had signed. Yeah, I was like 22, 20. I was 23 when we had announced it, and we're getting everything in order. Sorry, my pop filter just got smacked off because I'm intense.
It's a very intense conversation.
You know, yeah. I mean, I remember, being in Kyle's basement. We were specifically working on loose ends. And I was having a lot of trouble trying to write a melody for the second verse to where I just had a straight up panic attack out of nowhere. I thought I was having a heart attack, and I had a friend that was experiencing some heart issues then that was around my age, so that I'm thinking like, shit, they're going through this. Like, what if it's me having like heart problems right now too? So then Kyle drove me to the hospital and stuff, and then with the nurses or doctors who I had talked to, they weren't necessarily well versed in mental health stuff. That's not really where their training's at. All they told me was, hey, smoke a little less weed and drink a little less coffee and get out of here, kind of thing. And then they had the audacity to mail me a prescription saying that I had forgotten to grab it from them when they had never offered anything or told me that I was gonna be receiving anything like that. So a prescription for Ativan showed up in the mail, and I was just pissed because those people didn't want to take me seriously, But I'd went and seen my primary physician, who had prescribed Lexapro to me, like a lower dose, and the only thing that I would change if I could now is that I wish I had also gone to see a psychiatrist at that point too. I think that would have been very helpful for me. But I eventually was able to see one, and it's not like I never did. So
right. So with that, you guys were touring a lot, and Warped Tour was kind of like one of the first big places that kind of like took you guys under their wing. I believe you guys kind of hit the West Coast for the first time with Warped Tour.
Second time technically. It was supposed to be the first time, but Buddy Nielsen and Census Fail swiped us for that.
Hey, not a bad tour either.
Oh yeah.
So with touring, and it's a whole lifestyle, and kind of for people who are unaware of how draining and ridiculously stressful it can be, can you kind of touch on that and what you would do differently coming forward with more tours if you decide to do that?
Well, I feel like Warped Tour is just a different beast in and of itself. No club tour comes close to the chaos of Warped Tour, at least that I can think of, because Warped Tour just has so many different moving pieces. There's also a lot more to be done from both the band members and the crew, like unloading the gear truck every day. I mean, merch people are working from sun up to sun down, like every single day, and they are the ones that, when the off days come in, they are cherishing it. And sometimes the off days were few and far between. I think the last year of it, 2018, I want to say there was a stretch of like 10 days in a row or something, where even like everybody's feeling that at that point, just needing like a day to just like sit somewhere in AC for a little bit and not have to worry about the constant go of Warped Tour, But anything that I would do differently this time around if I were to tour again, I really don't know. I would just try to take better care of myself. I have a goal to quit smoking this year. That was a thing that I think definitely elevated a lot of sickness I dealt with on tour. I think that it made my allergies worse, just like anything that could affect my voice. I think smoking cigarettes made it like 10 times worse than it should be. So that's definitely the main change I would want to make for the next time I were to go on tour,
Definitely. So yesterday, you guys were obviously in the studio. The day before that, you were also in the studio.
Yep.
And what is the future of Rationale? What are we getting from this next kind of batch of singles, EP, album, whatever that looks like?
Well, first and foremost, getting songs. I think
Yeah,
that's going to be the most important thing.
I would think so. Yeah.
But I think a wider variety of offerings. I think there are a lot of different influences that we're pulling from. And I know some people might cringe hearing this, but the Beatles definitely. I know for some reason a lot of people think it's cool to hate on the Beatles, but guess what? You're not cool because everybody else is doing it. So find something else to do. Maybe liking the Beatles would be punk at this point. But
Yeah.
but it's something with the Beatles though, where it's like you look at that band and it's kind of like everybody brings something to the table, and everybody in that band has written an absolute fucking hit for that band. Even Ringo Starr and stuff like Yellow Submarine, Octopus's Garden. Like George Harrison had something. Lennon and McCartney, countless. It's just that everybody in that band had their own it was able to bring something unique to the table that was valued by the band as a whole. Whereas I feel like in a way we are similar to that. We're like even this release, Ryan brought a song instrumentally to us and stuff. And Ryan's a freak, so on the demo, Ryan has played everything.
Oh my gosh.
Tracked the drums, played the bass, both guitar parts and stuff. And I'm sure that's going to be the same thing when it gets fully tracked, is that Ryan's going to be chilling and just and just recording everything for that song, which is great because Ryan's going to be able to play it best. Ryan already knows how to play it. So why would I bother really learning any of it if it's just going to be easier for Ryan to do it at this point, But no, I think there's some more risks we're taking. There's different vibes we're going for in some regards. And I think that in some ways it's an expansion of our sound prior, but also just trying to get a little bit weird. I have desecrated the D chord shape, both in Dadgad and Half Step Down on this, on some of these songs. So we'll just see how that goes.
I am pushing for a sax part in one of these songs. I'm telling you.
Oh yeah. If I had the money to rent it right now, that I would be willing to spend and lose, I would consider it.
I think that would be a great concept. I'm just saying. I'll be petitioning for it.
We'll see. There's always the possibility of alternate versions.
There we go. Smooth Jazz by Rational.
Oh yeah. Well, it doesn't have to be smooth jazz.
No,
to have the saxophone on it. I don't know. Maybe we'll figure something out.
Do some synth pop or something.
Yeah. Fuck it.
So being that you guys are all kind of friends, and you guys have all collaborated together in way other ways, and Real Friends was, very much this sound, Knuckle Puck is a sound, Home Safe, they're all their own separate sounds, especially with, the last record you put out with Real Friends was Composure, and Knuckle Puck's 2020 album was fantastic. How are those sounds all going to kind of culminate together, and how does that process work? When you're trying to is your goal to kind of make it sound different, or just kind of make it an extra arm of all of the three things?
We definitely want to make it different. I think the main thing separating it from those bands is that I'm writing most of, if not a good portion of the music, which I never did for Real Friends. So I think that's already kind of differentiating itself that way. But then also, I'm also coming up with the melodies, so then my vocal style is just going to be similar to Real Friends because I was writing the vocal melodies for that band also. So it's and then with Joe writes a lot of music for Knuckle Puck, but then Joe also has an opportunity to write stuff that, might not fit with the Knuckle Puck vibe, so then it comes to us and stuff, because there have been times where, Joe's showed me a demo, be like, oh dude, check out the song I wrote, and I'm like, yo, this is sick, it's gonna be such a sick KP song, and he's just like, wait, I wrote it for us. And I'm like, what? This sounds like a KP song, dog. I think KP's got to take this one, you know? I can't remember which Knucklepuck song it ended up being, but I feel like Joe would be able to answer that. But I don't know. I definitely want it to be its own thing while also respecting the fact that the three of us also contribute to other bands, so there's going to be bits and pieces of that no matter how hard we try for that to not be the case, you know?
Absolutely. And like I think that's the gem of like having all three of you guys, you know, in the same room. It's like as a fan of all three of the bands, like it's just, you know, it's a bonus Jonas, as I would like the bonus Jonas brother, you know, like when I first started listening to Rationale stuff, like as a whole, it was like, what the fuck? Like it was everything I, you know, kind of wanted, because it was like more, you know, Knucklepuck's not putting out something right now. Real Friends, you know, if they're not putting, you know, it's like this whole thing. I'm like, hell yeah, like give me more. And I think it's awesome you guys have that creative freedom to have that space to do experiments and try different things and, you know, creatively like feel sonic at the same way.
Yeah.
So I listened to a couple other interviews you've done, and something that really caught my attention was your Deepak Chopra quote about essentially do nothing and accomplish everything.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Can you just, you know, explain that a little bit? Because that's like one of the favorite things I've ever heard.
It's kind of like one of those things where like Joe and I were hanging out anyways, like before this band started, so we were just like, yo, why don't we like make music too, you know, and it'll be an excuse to hang out even more, you know, and it's just like, well, this is stuff we're doing anyways, why don't we just add another activity into the mix, you know, because it's like ever since I'd been hanging out with them, it had been in some sort of creative aspect. Like I remember the first time I ever hung out with Joe and the first time I met Nick, like I was there to like sing on the acoustic version of Woodwork that they were recording in Nick's basement and stuff. So it's always, creativity's always been a part of our relationship to some regard. So this was just taking it to the next level, you know?
Putting a name on it when you guys hang out and just kind of jam, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Why not?
So I brought this up earlier, but Spotify, and I'm very curious, and if you could give an explanation. So a lot of people obviously release Spotify, Apple Music, that the whole thing. So Rationale had a bunch of stuff on Bandcamp for a while. Can you kind of touch on the differences of, you know, releasing things in a certain way on certain sites and how that benefits the band and kind of supports the band best?
Well, Bandcamp is great because they only take 15% as far as I know, whereas I know iTunes does closer to 30% for their share. Bandcamp has also been doing like Bandcamp Fridays where they just go ahead and forego like they're like, nope, we're not taking share of the music today. Like right now, pandemic, you know, eating artists alive. So let's, you know, do our part and make sure everything goes to the artists. It's also, I mean, you know, it's a great place. Also, I've seen some people have like some rarities on Bandcamp as well that might not have made it onto a formal streaming service, but I like it as another outlet to be able to purchase music, and also get music in a variety of different file formats too. Like if you got the audio files that want FLAC, it's got that. If you got people that are fine with MP3 or would maybe want WAV, that nice little in between, like cool, you know, Bandcamp's got that for you. And then Spotify, you know, they just have an AI that listens to every single thing you do while you're listening to the app and stuff and listening to music. It listens to whether or not you're singing at the top of your lungs or just kind of whispering along to it. It knows when you like music. And it knows how, it really does know how to suggest music to you as well, unless you're like me streaming and listening to lo-fi, because that's the only music that you can listen to without getting a DMCA strike. So now my Discover Weekly, I can go through it right now on my computer here, and I'll tell you it's going to be all lo-fi now, which is not a problem, but like I said earlier, though, like I found mini trees through my Discover Weekly. So it's like I would like to find more, I guess, traditional guitar, vocal music, or even like hip hop type stuff instead of just all instrumental music. I'd like a little bit of a variety, but then it's like, I'm also listening to hours on end of lo-fi beats, so it's like it's gonna give me what it gives me.
I always joke that I broke my Spotify because I do this. Well, I don't stream and listen to lo-fi, but like when I sleep, I put on like indie sleep or like sleep sound. So on my Discover Weekly, I'll get like ocean sounds, and I'm like, I'll be driving to work in the car, and I'm just like, what? Like, is there a tsunami? I do not know what's happening.
Oh yeah.
But my like go-to kind of like Spotify trick, if I ever like break whatever AI is like listening to me, I'll make a playlist. And this is something like, if you ever like are down to do this, like definitely you pick 3 songs that you're really vibing with at the moment, and then at the bottom it'll automatically like curate like songs like are like
Oh yeah, like
that.
the radio. Yeah.
Yeah, but they'll let you like add them to that playlist. So I'll add like 6 songs, refresh it, and then it'll put it. The way it works is insane, and whatever AI is doing and like listening in my head, like I needed to stop because it's a little creepy.
Yeah, but I mean, but it really they really did find a way at the very least. Like if they're not gonna fucking pay their artists the way they should be paying them, at least they're doing something on the discoverability front.
So I want to ask like the your professional opinion, like whatever that looks like, about how to support bands best via streaming platforms.
So I mean, I think that the best way is to share the music with your friends. I don't know, make playlists with stuff that you think they'd like, with that one jam that you think would like win that friend over for that band. With sharing it on Twitter, like word of mouth, like is the reason Real Friends even took off in the first place and stuff. And that was before like I think Spotify was even a thing really, or it was in its infancy. Like it's just all word of mouth is really the best way, and that's what like I said, like kind of what Spotify is getting right if they're not getting any of the payment stuff correct. So yeah, it's just spreading the word. I know it's easier said than done, but it's just, if you like something, share it with a friend, and then if they like it, hopefully they share it with another friend, and it just kind of gets it just gets passed on from person to person, and hopefully then enough people like it to where then maybe then the plays just keep racking up, and then that artist can get some sort of money from the plays and stuff. I know Spotify has also incorporated like, I'm trying to look it up right now, like where you can put a PayPal link in there so people can directly contribute to the bands. I mean, I don't think a single person has contributed to us that way. I don't think that's necessarily something I think people really want something for their money, so then that's where like merch then really comes into play and stuff, but yeah, I mean, because it does go, it has to go past the streaming services, because the streaming services in a lot of cases, unless like, unless it's like a solo artist or a band that's like, not too many people, that money's gonna get like split up and it's not gonna be too much,
Right.
So then like going to shows, I mean, even liking a band and then following them on social media. So like, and I mean, and granted, like not too much of this applies right now because of like quarantine and stuff, like to be able to like know when shows are happening and stuff. But, making that extra click for like a follow can go a long way, because then you find out about merch drops, then you find out about tour dates, then there are other ways then that can lead you down a path to being able to I guess find better ways to support the band while either getting an experience or some sort of merch item out of it,
Mm-hmm. That's perfectly said. And like as a big music fan, like once quarantine started happening, all these tours got canceled, all my tickets, I don't think I asked for a single refund because I was like, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
So I was like, if that's the best way I can support somebody, if that even, supported them in some way. And the amount of t-shirts I bought in that first like 3-month period, because I was like, if I can't support them any other way, like that was like my, in my head that made sense. So it's kind of good to hear that like that actually is like kind of, helping that out. And I mean, merch in general, not even during quarantine, is like such a big thing, and a lot of bands have like really gotten it right and gotten the style down. I mean, the amount of Real Friends t-shirts I've had in the last a couple years, like Real Friends, great merch, great merch, and and I think that also, Hot Mulligan's doing really well with their merch drops too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, number one hot new band, or sorry, hot new verified band. They like to go by now.
Don't forget the verified.
No. Yeah, Hot Mulligan. I will say, I think that their merch has been some of the best that I've seen. So I got to shout out Hot Mulligan for that real strong merch game. They're. I personally think that they're killing it with it.
Absolutely. I think Grayscale also is doing really well with their merch.
Oh, Grayscale, yeah, goes without saying. They've always been killing it, so I don't need to compliment them any further. They already know. They're killing it.
I got one of their shirts for the first time when quarantine happened, because I was like, I'm going to support. And it was when they were donating to a Black Lives Matter foundation, which also kind of pours into another thing I want to touch on is platforms, and how people like really, really use their platforms in the last year to do good. And you are one of those people.
Thank you.
I know you were donating, or you were raffling off like test presses from Real Friends, like, and what kind of inspired you to really use your platform like in the best possible way and really, really have an impact on the people who are paying attention to you as well?
I mean, I think I had struggled a lot I think the first couple of years of Real Friends, to kind of find what I wanted to talk about without it being like empty air, I guess. And I wanted to have like some sort of message, because I know that there are some bands that prefer to just stay silent on a lot of matters, and want to keep it light, because the show is supposed to be a safe space, but what that means to them is that, like, unfortunately, there's no acknowledgement of anything that like necessitates why it should be a safe space. It's just like, I understand wanting to have a good time and be there like just for the music, but some people I feel like it takes a little bit extra for them to feel comfortable in a space, and there's nothing wrong with that, because sometimes life gets in the way of even some of the best moments, where like you might be at this show that you've been looking forward to for the past like 6 months to a year or something, or especially like with quarantine coming up, you've got a lot of tickets that you've been sitting on. Sometimes it's just nice to know, like, oh hey, if I've been dealing with a lot of anxiety or depression or any sort of mania or anything, it's nice to know that there are other people that care that is happening, and want to, you have to acknowledge, like I said, why it's a safe space in the first place sometimes, and let people know, like, hey, like, everything is great here, but just remember, like, that there's more to what is going on. We can't just constantly sugarcoat the world and act like nothing is happening, because there's some people over the past year that have used a lot of the Black Lives Matter protests is like kind of like a set it and forget it. Like, it's just like a one-time thing and then never gets posted about again. Mm-hmm. And those are the people that I would suggest y'all be weary of, because it's just like it's truly opportunistic, and it sucks. People should, if you care about the matter, you want to continue supporting it and continue to raise and elevate some of those marginalized voices and stuff, So it's just, as awkward as it can be, or as painful as it can be to talk about some of those things, they have to get talked about. People, and I feel like that even deepens the bond, knowing that somebody that you look up to, somebody whose music that you've had on repeat, or, want to emulate, or has inspired things that you've done in your life. Like, it's good to know that that there's also this care for your well-being as well, if that makes sense, you know?
Absolutely. And I'm really glad you brought up the set it and forget about it, because, you know, that's something I do pay attention to when I get into new music. Is like, are they, you know, what do they stand for? Because, you know, there's so many, you know, people in general who are very opportunistic in that way of like, oh, like it's trendy, so I'm, you know, especially with the age of social media, like it's very trendy, so hashtag Black Lives Matter, or like, you know, here's all these resources, let's not ever talk about it again. Yes, it's great they're posting the resources, but, you know, what else? Like, you know, if you're not educated enough about that situation, it's not making a difference in yourself. So, you know, what's your goal by posting it if you're not even going to educate yourself first? And, you know, like I said, like you're doing such a great job with, you know, using your platform. And I think it's something that a lot of people should look at and be paying attention to, because, you know, a lot of voices are marginalized, and, you know, in this last year has just been a political mess, and everybody hates each other, and everybody, you know, it's just not, you know, a great place. And so I live outside of DC. I work in DC, and the political climate alone has just been, you know, not great. So you are doing Twitch, you're doing all these charity streams, and it's just great. So I just, you know, thank you for, you know, using your platform for good, and really taking that opportunity and making it, you know, for people paying attention, like a learning experience and everything like that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. And to talk about Twitch, even Twitch streaming, I've hopped on a couple of your streams, and you're drawing Pokemon, you're playing games, you're just chilling, just drinking some coffee or tea or water or whatever that happens. So how did you kind of get into that?
Well, I found out about Twitch, like 5 or 6 years ago. And it was just something where the idea of it intrigued me. Like, I knew absolutely nothing about it. And when I first started streaming, you could tell. Like, because it's just like, I just kind of threw myself into it. Like, because you can stream directly from a PlayStation or an Xbox. So that's what I did. I didn't have a computer back then, like 2015, 2016. I didn't have a PC yet. So I got like a little camera for my PlayStation, and then I'd just stream that way, and it would be super basic, but it would be doable, you know, and I just wanted to, because I looked at it specifically as video games first. Mm-hmm. And that, like, it could give me a way to talk to our fans and, like, kind of break the ice in a way that I might not normally be able to do at shows, you know, and I feel like, you know, and like I mentioned earlier, like, I had trouble kind of trying to figure out what to say to fans, whether it was on stage or it was in person, like, you know, at like a meet and greet or at the merch table taking a picture or something. Like, you know, if people felt like they were being awkward, like, trust me, I was probably being 8 times more awkward not knowing how to talk to them, you know, because it's just, it was something where, like, it took me a while to come to terms with the fact that, like, my voice is important, and that there's weight to what I say and what I do, you know, because of how many eyes were/are on me, you know. So Twitch really helped kind of bridge that gap for me, where I feel a lot more comfortable talking to random people, you know, that know me but I don't know them personally and stuff, and that and because I felt like a lot of the time, like, I felt like I was an animal at the zoo, and people are just pressing up against the glass, like, knocking, being like, do a trick, do a trick, do a trick, you know. And Twitch helped to humanize me to the fans and vice versa, you know, so that I see that even though, like, I don't necessarily see them, I just see a couple words popping up on the screen with some usernames. It's still a social function to an extent, where, like, even during quarantine and stuff, like, Twitch has been a godsend for me, not only for the income but for social interaction and being able to, like, talk to people and stuff, because I would say that we've all grown a lot closer, because there's a lot of incredibly positive and supportive people in there, and they're not just supportive of me and the channel, but, like, of each other. Like, they anytime somebody comes in, like people the amount of vulnerability is truly admirable, because people will come in and be able to talk about things that they're dealing with and be brave enough to share those things with people that they like, might not have ever even been able to meet in real life, but they see on a regular basis, like in these streams. And like, just like, even if I'm having an otherwise shitty or like an anxious or a depressed day or something like that, I go on and stream, and these people are just like, yo, let's all push this to the side. Like, this is a positive place to be, and let's keep it positive. But we still acknowledge that that not everything is so rosy, because with mental health, I feel like we talk about that, and people automatically assume like, oh, we're talking about mental health, that means the bad things, like, and only the bad things, when no, mental health is everything. It's the good stuff and the bad stuff. It is, the anxiety, the depression, the heartbreak, all those things. But then also it's like, it's the joy and excitement of doing things like going to your favorite show and like getting up, crowd surfing, and just cathartically screaming the words out. It's having that nice, chill, maybe much needed relaxation day, hanging out on the couch with like a pet or a partner, or just even by yourself, getting some time to decompress and stuff. It's a culmination of everything, and I like that Twitch is another extension of that, to be able to have this good day or have this bad day, but also be open to being vulnerable and talking about things, while also being surrounded by things that we all like to do and like to be a part of,
Absolutely. That was very well said. And, especially during a year where all of us are, not doing great, and we're looking for the peaks and the good places to have time and spend time that aren't staring, through an Instagram feed or like down a Reddit rabbit hole or whatever that looks like.
Or doom scrolling even. Like, I know that I've gotten into some doom scrolling in the past, and like I feel like I used to be very much more tuned into the news than I have been lately, but sometimes it's just, it's definitely good to be aware, and people need to be aware of what's going on. And I'm not trying to say that I'm trying to shut everything out, but I'm trying to learn, like, sometimes I need some time for myself instead of seeing everything that's so bad in the world all of the time.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
It's just finding that balance.
Yeah, I work in news, like that's my day job, and we have this weird like week on, week off schedule. So like on my, like, this is my week off, I try my hardest not to pay attention unless it's like really like a pressing matter. I try really hard because I'm, in that environment, and every single email that comes in,
you're finding out about it anyways. Yeah.
And it's like every single email is like, there's a bombing, there's, people are dying, here's the third time our COVID, like, this is the third death counter of the day of how many people have died of COVID. And it's like, mentally not great. Not great.
Yeah, it's heavy.
Yeah. And being like, exactly like on my weeks off, like I will lay in bed and I will stare at the ceiling and I will watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine over and over again. And like whatever that like space is for me, like it's important to definitely recognize. And it's funny you mentioned like when you did meet and greets like for Real Friends. I've met you twice now, so nice to meet you again. But my first encounter was at a Warped Tour. I think both times I met you guys, it was at Warped Tour. And my first one was incredibly awkward, and I thought it was me, which it probably still was. But it just like, I don't think any meet and greet for me has ever been with any band has been like extraordinarily not awkward.
Oh, I've had meet and greets too where I've been the awkward kid. I'll tell you what. Like, I remember and this is going to be embarrassing for me, but I remember 2006 Warped Tour was my first Warped Tour. I was chilling in line waiting to meet Motion City Soundtrack. Mm-hmm. And people, band, yeah. they had one of their crew people was going up and down the line being like, yo, if y'all buy the like special edition of Commit This to Memory, you're cutting the line. You'll get right up front there. And I was just like, wait a second. I already bought it. And I went up to him. I was like, yo, I already bought this. Like, do I have to buy it specifically from you? And he's like, get up there, buddy. Get up there. And I was just like, Like, oh my God. And like, I had asked to touch Justin Pierre's hair and stuff. I was one of those kids. Like, and I think then karma came back because then so many people would ask to touch my hair and stuff. But I'm like, yeah, oh yeah. Especially when I had the long hair, they're just like, can I touch your hair? Can I touch your hair? And I was like, and I would think of that. I would think of that instance at Warped Tour every single time, and I'm just like, I have to let him do it because he was so nice to me, being this weird fucking 15-year-old kid, and stuff like. So it's like, no, trust me. I have been the awkward kid at a meet and greet as well. You know, meeting Circa Survive, meeting the matches and stuff, like all at Warped Tour. No, trust me. Trust me.
I have one of the pictures.
Oh,
if you don't mind me, it's I feel like it's the most awkward picture I've ever seen in my life, but it's probably me. Oh God, I just like shake the whole thing. There's this like great space, and it just like it just to me is like really funny. And
well, you mean the space with Eric and Brian?
Yeah, and I was like, is this an awkward family photo? I don't know.
Now, with those pictures, they would try their hardest to stand next to each other and like do the silliest things that they could possibly think of when they would do that. Hell yeah.
We both look very different now, but it was just, you know, I think that was 2018.
That one was 2018. The first one was 2016. I know, because I wore that green shirt every fucking day. But I was like, also like the thing is that like 2016 Warped Tour, I wasn't necessarily in the best place. Mm-hmm. You know, like I was dealing with a lot of depression and stuff, a lot of substance use on that tour specifically. So to where like I was just awkward to be around, I thought, at the meet and greets and stuff, you know. So it's like it's not, and that I think sucks, because that's an instance where I should put some of that stuff aside. I mean, even though it does affect me and stuff adversely, like it's still something where like for that 1 hour I should be grateful that I'm, you know, talking to people and people that are so enthusiastic about wanting to meet me and appreciative of what I do and stuff. It's like that's the fucking dream. And like, you know, like to an extent I wasn't fully appreciating it, you know, as much as I do now, you know. But I would say I tried to make up for it 2018 to be a little bit more available and, you know, and hanging and stuff and making sure that I made myself a little more available.
You know, as a fan, like, I think fans should be able to know and understand, like, if somebody's, like, having a rough day. Like, it's not me, it's you. It's not you, it's me. It's, like, that whole thing is, like... Also, I think fans should need to be understanding is, like, not everybody's gonna have a perfect meet and greet experience. I have a friend who's, like, always, like, I don't ever want to meet, the bands because I don't want to ruin my, like, perception of them and, like, have a shit experience. But I definitely think, like, fans also need to be understanding of that. Is like, especially, like, on Warped Tour where you're grinding it out every single day with a day off every 2 weeks or whatever that looks like in that span of time. Like, I think... Like,
and so some people are really understanding, you know, truly, like, but I have had some people like come up and be like, oh, like, you know, you're much cooler than this person from this band, whether it's like Joe or like Derek from State Champs or like Parker from Story So Far or something. And like, and I'm sure that like kids have said to those people probably the same thing about me sometimes, you know, because they might have caught me at not the best moment, either me personally or just like I might be busy needing to run off somewhere and be like, yo, hey, I'm sorry, I can't, like... Yeah, because sometimes in that instance, like if I've got to be somewhere on Warped Tour, whether it's for like an interview or for a meet and greet or something, like, you know, I'm on an actual like schedule there, where sometimes I can be like, yo, if you want to walk with me, take this selfie while we're walking, like, but I'm sorry, I got to be like short and quick with it. Like, you know, some people understand, some people are like, oh, doesn't want to give me that kind of time. What the hell? Like, yeah, but it's like in some cases, like the ticket only gets you in to see the show. The ticket is not a guarantee that you get to meet these bands unless it's something like Warped Tour where like Real Friends Every Day we had a meet and greet or something where people could sign up for it and like it's free of charge and all that stuff in the sense of Warped Tour. But then sometimes there's like VIP packages with like either hangouts or acoustic sessions or something, and that's like, you know, a different type of scenario there. But for the most part, the ticket only gets you in to see the show. Like there's like sometimes there is a ridiculous amount of entitlement where it's like, no, well, I need to be meeting this person and this and this and this and this and this and stuff. But then, like, you know, if I ask people to put their phone away for one song, then I am the fucking devil incarnate. You
How
know?
dare you? How dare you?
But then also, that is something then, too, where they paid for the ticket
Right.
to see the show, so that's how they choose to see the show, that's how they choose to see the show. It's a give and take, you know?
Right. It's a whole experience for both sides.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting because I've been a fan of just in general music for so long. My first concert was Tim McGraw. I was 6 years old.
Hell yeah.
And
My first one was Britney Spears. I was 9. I was 8 or 9.
There we go. There we go. And I've grown up in the music community in that way. And in high school, I kind of branched into concert photography and music journalism. So like I feel like I've had a little bit of like both sides of understanding like the scheduled thing, and obviously not to the extent that you do. And being able to be on the production side and like being a PA in a music venue and all of these things. It's such a different experience, and I like that's kind of the reason why I wanted to do this podcast, is because there's so many questions that people don't understand about your side of things, and like if there's anything that like needs to be addressed or whatever that looks like. So that's I really enjoyed hearing your perspective on all of that for sure.
Well, thanks.
I'm glad I could share my cringy pictures. So do you want to play a game called Quick Pick, where I make you quick pick a song that goes along with this very specific scenario?
Yes.
Okay, so I already picked mine because I simply would be here for 3 hours if I had to pick one single song. So we're going to try it. The first one is, there's only 3, but you're at a water park and it's the peak of summer. You're eating ice cream or whatever, popsicle, whatever that looks like, and it just falls to the ground, and it's just the most terrible scenario at an ice cream park. I picked Just a Kid by Simple Plan.
I would pick The Science of Selling Yourself Short by Less Than Jake.
Okay, all right. That was a good one. So the next one, it's a very picturesque night. You're driving, the windows are down, it's the mid of summer, so it's like that nice air, you're smelling the flowers, and you're just driving and vibing. What song's playing? I picked Flowers on the Grave by The Maine. It's like 7 minutes
Driving
song.
and vibing, I would say, and I'm going to have to get a specific song here, but I've been listening to, about like I'd say fall 2019, Vacationer put out an instrumental like lo-fi beat album that is incredible, and I would say Tape Deck by Vacationer.
I'll have to check that one out. Like that summer moment of just driving and it's dark and the wind's blowing. It's one of my favorite things to do. I will go on drives for like 3 hours at a time. Like it's ridiculous.
Oh hell yeah.
That's like my sense of like peace, especially like throughout this last year.
Yeah.
So this last one, you're at a bus stop and it's raining. It's just rain's coming down like cats and dogs. It's that moment in a movie where a car splashes you and as it drives by and you're just completely drenched. It's a sad song. Doesn't have to be a sad song. But I picked Vienna by Billy Joel.
I'm thinking something City and Color. And I'm going to go with... Shit, what's the name of the song? I'm so bad right now. And
I literally the memory of a goldfish. I totally get it.
Probably, I'll go with one of the new ones, Living in Lightning.
Okay. Well, thank you for playing along. I love to hear people's answers to these because... I have, I like to think I have a wide variety, and I think everybody else does. So it's always curious to hear what like the first thing that comes to your mind is.
Yeah.
So last and final question, and it's kind of something we touched on, but just kind of bring it all together. Musicians and artists have the ability and the platform to leave marks on the world in very many ways, so many ways. And they can be either bigger or smaller. But what's the mark you want to make, and Rationale as a band wants to make?
I think a big thing with music I've contributed to is, and with the struggles I've had, seeing myself as somebody of influence, is that, like, I want people to know that if they want to do something like this, they can. I think that there is, especially now more than ever, there's a lot more accessibility into, like for getting into artistic endeavors, like whether it be music or photography or show promotion or what the fuck ever. You know, it's just something where, like, if you want to get involved, then get involved. You know, if it's just for yourself, if you want to try doing it as a career path, I mean, don't. Just kidding. But it's just that it's that you can do it too, and maybe the thing you wanted to do like me, when I wanted to first play music, I want to play drums. And anybody that knows me personally knows that I am not, or even anybody that's seen a Real Friends show, I am not the most coordinated person. I am a clumsy motherfucker. So the drums probably are not the best thing for me. So then I was like, oh, bass. Let's do it. I found something else still to do. And even if people feel like they're not more inclined in a musical aspect, like there's still things to do, like photography, like show promotion, tour managing, merch sales, all sorts of things to still be involved. It's like the Piebald song, hey, you're part of it, like that kind of thing. You know, it's like, just find something that you feel that you are better at or are good at, or even if you're not, like, quote unquote good at it. Like, I hate using that word, like, good, but it's just something, like, I mean, everybody unfortunately looks at it as being good or bad, but it's just, it takes some practice. And they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, and I call bullshit on that. It's just, you got to have the old dog's got to have patience for it. You know, that's the thing. When you're a kid, you've got a whole hell of a lot of patience and for things like trial and error, where I feel like as an adult, it's just like there's such a concentration on time and how much time is being used, because we're conditioned to think that time is money, which in some cases it is, but it doesn't have to be all of the time. And I'm trying to teach myself that too, and that there can be some less productive days money-wise, but more productive for fulfillment, you know? So TLDR, it's just, you can be involved, you can contribute, it just might take a little time to see how it is you want to be able to contribute.
Absolutely. That was very well said. Dan, Rationale, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure.